I went back home in the middle of my shift because I'd forgotten my blood pressure medicine. As soon as I opened the door, I froze. There were voices in the living room. I held my breath when I recognized my daughter-in-law, Melissa's voice. She was on the phone with someone. "Yes, Mom, we've got everything ready. Grandma Sherry is going to have to hand over the house." She paced back and forth, her voice flat. "She doesn't have any other choice. Jordan and Nathan already agreed. I told them it's only fair. After all these years of us taking care of her, we deserve for her to give us the house so my whole family can live comfortably." My heart pounded. My children were pushing me to hand over my house to Melissa's entire family, but I had other plans. I hid behind the door, my hands trembling with outrage. Melissa kept talking. "Dad can bring the uncles too. The house is big anyway. And if Sherry doesn't like it, then we can put her in a nursing home. Or something. Her role is finished." Every word was like a knife. This was the woman I had welcomed like a daughter, cared for when she was sick, helped with money when times were hard, now plotting to take the one thing I had left, the home I built with my own hands. I worked double shifts at a garment factory for 30 years to have it. A kind of pain mixed with anger surged up like I'd never felt. How could Jordan, the firstborn I raised alone after his father left when he was 5, and Nathan, the youngest who used to be gentle and protective of his mother, agree to this? Melissa hung up and went out to the yard. I slipped in, pretending I had just stopped by to grab my medicine. When she came back, she saw me making coffee. "Oh, I didn't hear you come in, Mom," Melissa said with that polite smile. "I forgot my pills, so I came back to get them," I answered, trying to stay calm while my mind spun over what I'd just heard. For a few minutes over coffee, I watched every gesture of Melissa's with new eyes. The way she looked around the house as if it were already hers. The way she talked about upgrades, making better use of space. So calculating. The more frequent visits, the questions about my documents, the whispers about modernizing parts of the property, all of it suddenly fit together like perfect puzzle pieces. "We think we should talk a little about the future." Melissa lowered her voice, honey sweet. "You're already 67. Keeping up a house this big must be exhausting. Maybe it's time to choose a more practical solution." "What do you mean by practical?" I asked, feigning curiosity. "We could move in and take care of you. That way you wouldn't have to worry about expenses, maintenance, all the heavy stuff. You'd just spend time with the grandkids and rest." It sounded so fake it made me sick. Back when they stayed here for 2 years after the wedding, she only chipped in $50 a month for food and utilities. She always had excuses to avoid cleaning, taking me to the doctor, or going to the market. Now she promised to take care of me if she could live in my house with her whole extended family. "That's very thoughtful of you," I smiled. "But I like my independence. This house has been my refuge for years." Melissa wouldn't let it go. "Please think it over. We'll handle everything for you. You just enjoy the grandkids." Those grandkids I hardly ever saw because they were always too busy unless Melissa needed something from me. I said goodbye and went back to my little alterations shop, but I couldn't focus. The phrase, "the old lady will have to hand over the house," pounded like a hammer. They spoke as if it were an obligation, as if I owed them, as if decades of sweat building something with my own hands meant nothing. That night, I walked through every room, touching memories. The living room, where I celebrated Jordan's first birthday. The kitchen where I taught my kids to bake cookies. The garden where I planted my favorite roses. Every corner held a story of labor and love. The next morning, strangely, I felt calm. While I brewed my coffee, I thought about the path that had brought me here to a life I had built myself. When Jordan was 5 and Nathan was still in my arms, their father disappeared. During the day I worked at the garment factory from early morning until afternoon. At night I took in mending to earn extra money. On weekends, I sold hot coffee and baked goods at a weekend market in the suburbs of Vancouver, Washington. Every dollar earned already had a place to go: food, clothes, medicine for the kids. I remember clearly the day I decided to buy a small plot on the edge of the city. Back then, Jordan was 12, Nathan was 10. The three of us squeezed into a one-bedroom rental. Both boys shared a bed, and I slept on a mattress on the floor. I dreamed of giving them a yard to run in, a home of our own. I saved for 7 years, tucking spare change into a tin box under the bed. The land cost $8,000, a fortune to me then. The seller, a kind older gentleman, let me pay in installments over 2 years, with the condition that one late payment would forfeit everything. I signed without hesitation. It was my only chance. Those 2 years were the hardest I'd ever worked. Extra shifts at the factory, every sewing job that came my way, weekends selling until the trays were empty. Building the house was slow but full of hope. I hired a mason for the foundation and main walls. The rest I did myself, learning to install plumbing from videos at the public library, painting every wall by hand, laying each bathroom tile late into the night. After school, Jordan and Nathan helped carry bricks, mix cement, clear debris. It was our family project, our shared dream. On move-in day, Jordan ran around the house shouting with joy, claiming a room. Nathan hugged me because we had our own yard to plant things. That first night, the three of us slept on the living room floor because we had no furniture yet, but we were indescribably happy. This house was built with love, sacrifice, and steady labor. The following years settled down. My alterations shop built regular customers. Both kids attended good schools. Jordan excelled at math, dreaming of becoming an engineer. Nathan loved drawing and talked about studying design. I gave them everything they needed: tutoring, supplies, school projects. When Jordan turned 18, I gifted him $1,000 for graduation money I had quietly saved over 2 years. He cried and told me I was the best mother in the world. 2 years later, I did the same for Nathan, always trying to be fair in love and support. Jordan met Melissa in college. At first, she seemed polite and well-mannered, from a modest background like ours, so I thought she'd understand the value of hard work. The wedding was held right in the garden I had poured my effort into. The newlyweds lived with me for 2 years so Jordan could finish his program and find a job. I didn't charge rent, just asked for $50 a month to help with expenses. Melissa occasionally helped around the house, but I let her half-hearted efforts slide, thinking she was young and not used to our routines yet. When they moved out, I felt both proud and wistful. The dream of a grown, independent child had come true. Nathan stayed with me a few more years, then found work and moved out too. For the first time in decades, I lived alone, but I wasn't lonely. I felt fulfilled, having done my duty as a mother. Those years alone were when I found myself again, tending the shop, expanding my clientele, saving more, fixing up a few things, replacing old furniture with more comfortable pieces, planting more flowers. It was the golden season of my life, the reward after years of toil. My sons still visited regularly, until Melissa started pushing the idea of living together for practicality. The day I overheard that phone call, I understood. This wasn't caregiving, it was seizure. And if they wanted to turn me into a shadow in my own home, they were going to be disappointed. That night, I opened the safe and went through the papers. The deed, home insurance, the draft will I'd written but not signed, and the receipts for the renovations I had paid for myself. In the morning, I would make an appointment with a lawyer. I would also speak plainly to Jordan and Nathan, no beating around the bush. This house is sweat, sleepless nights, the laughter of my children when they were small, the place I stood back up every time life knocked me down. No one, not even my own children, has the right to call it a prize to be divided. I am Sherry, and I am still here. When I remembered those weekends full of laughter with the grandkids running around the house, I once thought Melissa genuinely cared for me. But this morning, sitting with my cup of coffee, I realized the signs had been there for a long time. The increasingly frequent questions about my savings, the suggestions to modernize the house, the offhand comments like, "The house is too big for one person." Melissa had been planting seeds for her plan for years, so subtle I didn't see what was happening until the truth hit me like a punch to the gut. They had patiently waited for me to be old enough to be considered vulnerable, timing the perfect moment to act when they thought I would be too weak or confused to resist. But they were completely wrong. At 67, my mind was clearer than ever, and my resolve was steel. 3 days after overhearing Melissa's call, I decided I needed more information before taking action. I couldn't act based only on one call, no matter how revealing it was. That morning, while I was watering the garden, I saw Jordan's perbested car pull in. Strange. He usually texted before coming, but this time he arrived unannounced and with Nathan. Both of them together, something that rarely happened unless it was a special occasion. I greeted them as usual, offered coffee, and asked about their families. But something was different. Jordan was fidgety, avoiding eye contact, and Nathan was unusually serious. After a few pleasantries, Jordan cleared his throat. "Mom, we need to have a serious talk." My heart pounded, but I kept a calm face. "Yes, go ahead," I said, setting the coffee into the set they'd given me years ago. Nathan began, "Mom, we've been thinking a lot about your situation in this house." The word situation felt like a thorn living in my own home. Suddenly sounded like a problem that needed to be solved. "Jordan and I think it's time you considered some options that would be more comfortable for you." Exactly Melissa's script. The sons I had raised with so much love and sacrifice were now suggesting I leave my home. Jordan continued, "It's not that we want to get rid of you, but this house is too big, and the upkeep is expensive. Utilities, repairs, the yard. It's a lot for someone your age." 67 didn't feel old to me. I was still strong and perfectly able to take care of the house, but in their eyes, I must have been a helpless old woman. Nathan added, "It would be more convenient in a smaller place, easier to clean. There are even upscale senior living options activities, friends, 24/7 medical care, word for word, exactly what Melissa had said on the phone the other day." The coincidence was blatantly obvious. I pretended to consider it, while in my head the picture of betrayal snapped into place. "Your idea is worth thinking about," I said slowly. "But why are you so sure I have to change my way of life? I feel very good here. This house is my whole life." Jordan shifted, clearly uneasy, then blurted out, "And there's our family situation. Jordan Jr. is growing and needs space, and Melissa's whole family." So that was the core, Melissa's side of the family. I feigned confusion. "What do you mean, Melissa's family?" Jordan answered, "Melissa's parents are having financial trouble, and her siblings also need a temporary place to stay. If you move to a smaller place, we could use this house to help them. Kind of like doing a good deed. A good deed? The house built with my sweat, with decades of sacrifice now painted as an opportunity to do charity for my daughter-in-law's family. Nathan added, "Please don't think we'd abandon you, Mom. We'd visit all the time, and we could even help with the costs of your new place." The cruelty of it was bitterly ironic. Help me pay for a nursing home while taking over my current house, which is worth more than $200,000, its value raised significantly by my constant repairs and maintenance. I kept my voice steady. "I understand you're concerned about me, but I need time to think. This is a very big decision. A whole life can't be changed overnight." Jordan seemed relieved that I didn't reject it outright. "Of course, Mom, take your time. It'll be best for everyone. Best for everyone except me, obviously." After they left, I sat in the living room, replaying every word. Every sentence had been calculated, every argument designed to make me feel like a burden, someone who needed to be rescued from her own life. But I knew the truth. This had nothing to do with my comfort. It was pure greed wanting to take what didn't belong to them. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I called Evelyn, the one person I completely trusted. We had worked together at a garment factory for more than 20 years. Evelyn had witnessed my whole struggle to build this life. "Evelyn, I need to see you urgently," I said over the phone. "Something's going on with the boys, and I need an objective opinion." We met that very afternoon at the little cafe we sometimes visited. Evelyn walked in wearing her familiar olive green dress, with the same warm smile that always soothed me. I told her everything: the phone call from Melissa, my son's visit, the hints about a nursing home. Evelyn listened in silence, but I watched her expression harden with each detail. "Sherry," she squeezed my hand, "this is exactly what happened to my neighbors 2 years ago. Their kids convinced them to sell the house to help out, promising everyone would live together in a new place. In the end, the old couple landed in a cheap nursing home while the kids spent the sale money." A chill ran down my spine. Not the first time, and probably not the last. "But they're my children," I choked out. "I raised them, taught them, sacrificed everything. How can they be so heartless?" Evelyn gripped my hand. "A mother's love doesn't guarantee a child's love. People change, get influenced, and sometimes become greedy. And Melissa, from the first day you introduced her, I saw that calculating look, like she was taking inventory of everything you had." She was right. I remembered clearly the day I introduced Melissa to Evelyn. My friend was polite but guarded, and later told me Melissa seemed overly interested in the details of my house and business. Back then I thought Evelyn was being harsh. Now I saw her instincts had been right from the start. "What should I do?" I asked, feeling more fragile than I had in years. Evelyn answered crisply, decisively. "First, protect your assets. Go to the bank, see a lawyer. Make sure no one can touch your property without your consent. Second, don't let them know you're onto their plan. Let them think you're considering it while you prepare your own move." That night I went home, carrying 2 opposing things in my heart: sadness at being betrayed by my own children, and a determination not to let them get what they wanted. I had worked too hard, sacrificed too much, built too much to let go now. If they thought an older woman would be easy to manipulate, they were about to learn how wrong they were. That night I tossed and turned, pacing the house, replaying every recent conversation with Jordan and Nathan. With this new perspective, every piece turned dark. The harmless questions about legal documents, the nudges to update the will, the comments about the cost of a big house, all part of an orchestrated plan. I suddenly remembered a conversation with Jordan about 3 months ago. On a Sunday afternoon, while we were having coffee in the yard, he asked, "Mom, do you have all your papers in order? The deed, your will, those important things." At the time, it sounded like a mature, caring question. I answered, "Yes, everything is in the bank safe." He pressed, "Do you have copies at home?" I said, "Just a few basic copies in my file cabinet." Now I realized that wasn't casual at all. Jordan had been testing how easily he could access my documents where my weak spots were. He probably took what he learned back to Melissa so she could plot the next step. The thought made me nauseous. The child I once carried through the night when he was sick, now joining a scheme to strip me of everything I had built. I also remembered a strange conversation with Nathan a few weeks ago. He dropped by, looking worried, and began, "Mom, I've been thinking about your future." The rest of what he said back then, now I knew exactly where he wanted to steer me. "Do you feel lonely living here by yourself? Wouldn't it be better to be around people your age, with activities and ready medical care?" Nathan asked that day. Back then, I thought he was being thoughtful about my well-being. "No, I'm not lonely," I replied. "I have friends, work, and my own routines. I like my independence." But he kept pressing. "At your age, many things can happen: accidents, medical emergencies. If you lived in a specialized community, you'd have immediate help." The manipulation was soft as silk, but constant. For months, my children planted seeds of insecurity and dependence, trying to convince me I needed to be rescued from my own life. And behind it all was Melissa, the brain of the operation, who had turned my 2 sons into accomplices. I wondered how long she had been plotting, how long she'd been waiting for the ripe moment to strike. I retraced Melissa's behavior at recent family gatherings, that calculating gaze, like she was custom-fitting each room for her side of the family, the remarks about optimizing space, modernizing the kitchen and bathrooms, the detailed questions about repair and upgrade costs, as if she were keeping a mental inventory. I clearly remembered the time Melissa brought her mother to visit. The woman walked around, marveling, "What a beautiful house, Sherry. It must have cost a fortune to build." Proud of my journey, I told the whole story, saving every dollar, working double shifts for years, doing countless tasks with my own hands. Melissa's mother listened intently, asking specific questions about costs, materials, and renovations. Now I understood. That wasn't casual chit-chat between 2 older women, it was an informal appraisal. She likely went home with enough data for her daughter to calculate exactly how much they were trying to take. The collusion in that family was obvious. Everyone had a hand in it. I stood up, opened my file cabinet, and pulled out copies of my important papers. I read the deed carefully. My name was clearly listed as the sole owner. I reviewed the simple will I'd made years ago, splitting everything evenly between Jordan and Nathan, but a will only takes effect after I die, and I had no intention of leaving early to make things easier for them. The truth struck me. They didn't just want the house. They wanted me out of the picture so they could enjoy it freely. They wanted benefits without responsibility, rights without obligations. The most painful part was realizing they had probably waited years for me to be considered incompetent or vulnerable. I sat on the bed and cried for the first time since discovering the betrayal. Not out of self-pity, but in mourning, saying goodbye to the good image I had of my children, to the dream of a warm, extended family in my golden years. I had once imagined old age as gatherings with my children and grandchildren, being cared for the way I once cared for them, but it turned out that, in their eyes, I was an obstacle to their ambition. When the crying was over, something stronger rose in me, a steel resolve. If they thought I would serve up my life on a silver platter, they were mistaken. If they thought an older woman would be easy to lead by the nose, they were about to be shocked. I survived poverty, abandonment, relentless hard labor, and raising 2 children on my own. There is no way I'll collapse right when I should be enjoying the fruits of my work. That night, I decided, no direct confrontation yet. That would be a strategic mistake. I would play by their rules, pretend to consider their proposal while secretly preparing a counterstrike. 67 years of life had taught me more than a few arts. At daybreak, the outline of a plan was done. First, protect my assets legally so no one could touch them without my explicit permission. Second, investigate the scope of the scheme. How many people were involved? How far they had planned? Whether they already had a nursing home lined up. Third, record and save evidence every word, every action, so I could lay it all out if needed. And above all, keep up the facade. Remain the gentle, seemingly naive mother they thought I was, to buy time. I showered, ate breakfast, and felt an unusual calm because I finally knew what I had to do. The game was just beginning, and although my opponents thought they had every advantage, they were about to discover their biggest mistake, underestimating me. The next morning, I called the bank where I'd done business for more than 20 years and scheduled a meeting with the manager. Then I contacted attorney Austin Miller, the one who'd been recommended when I drafted my will. While waiting, I combed through all my financial documents, statements, the house title, tax receipts. After running the numbers, I was surprised to find I was stronger than I'd imagined. The house, according to the most recent insurance appraisal, was worth about $250,000. My savings were about $80,000. My little alterations shop, though small, brought in about $1,500 a month. With that, I could live independently and comfortably for many years, the very thing Melissa and my children were after. Early in the afternoon, I arrived at the bank. The manager, Mr. Robert Harris, welcomed me warmly. I kept it brief. I want to make sure no one but me can access or transact anything related to my assets. I've heard too many stories of elders being financially abused by their own families, and I want to prevent that. Mr. Ramirez nodded sympathetically. A very wise decision. We reviewed all my accounts and activated additional security, changed every password, set a rule that any transaction over $500 must have direct confirmation from me, added a note to the file. Absolutely no information is to be given to any third party, even family without written authorization, and my physical presence. He also advised, if needed, you can set up a limited power of attorney for true medical emergencies only, and only grant it to someone you absolutely trust. I noted it to discuss with the lawyer. Late in the afternoon, I went to attorney Austin Miller's office, a small but tidy workspace. Law books lining the walls, serious yet warm. I gave more details than I had at the bank, the pressure from my 2 sons, the nudges about senior living, and my suspicions about my daughter-in-law's family's real motives. The lawyer listened, occasionally jotting notes. Miss Sherry, he said, what you're describing unfortunately is not rare. This is elder financial abuse, and the law has protections. He laid out options. 1. Establish a trust to prevent anyone from fraudulently trying to declare you incapacitated. 2. Legally document any acts of pressure or coercion. I asked directly, what if I actually decide to sell my house? Can I do it without them knowing until everything is done and beyond interference? The lawyer smiled. Of course. You're the sole owner and fully competent. You can sell to whom you want, when you want, for whatever price you choose. In fact, if you like, we can prepare the entire package confidentially so that when you decide, the process is fast and irreversible. I nodded. In this match, I would strike first, but softly, so that when the time came, one decisive move would be enough. And no matter what they thought, this is my house, built with every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, every laugh of my children when they were little. No one, not even my own children, has the right to call it charity to be divided. I am Sherry, and I am still here. The lawyer's suggestion caught my attention immediately. If I decide to sell, how fast can we move? I asked. Austin Miller replied, if we pre-identify a buyer and have all documents ready, we can close in less than a week. We can even use a temporary blind trust, so your name doesn't appear in public records until the last moment. The possibilities began to take shape in my mind. I left the lawyer's office with a surge of strength I hadn't felt in weeks. I had options. I had resources. I had legal protections. I was not the helpless victim Melissa and my children imagined, but the hardest part lay ahead: investigation. I needed to understand what they planned to do, who was involved, and on what timeline. That evening, while I was eating alone in the kitchen, the phone rang. Jordan. How are you, Mom? We've been thinking a lot about our conversation the other day. Have you thought about our proposal? He tried to sound casual, but I heard the urgency. I've thought a lot. I kept my tone even. It's a big decision, but I understand you're concerned about me. Jordan exhaled in relief. How about we look at some senior living facilities this weekend? Melissa found some really nice places with activities that fit your age. Just as I suspected, they were moving forward. Good idea, I replied, surprised at how smoothly my performance came out. But I don't want to rush. If I do this, I need to be sure it's right. Jordan jumped in. Of course, we'll take it slow. Once you see the options, you'll feel more at ease. After I hung up, I sat quietly. Jordan spoke like he was reading from a script, every word too smooth, too calculated. It hurt to see my son so guided by Melissa. He had become the prompter's voice. The next morning, I chose to do something risky but necessary. Call Melissa directly. Hi, it's Mom. Are you free for coffee this afternoon? I want to ask a few things, get a woman's perspective. She seemed a bit surprised but agreed right away. We met at the cafe where I'd sat with Evelyn the day before. Melissa arrived on time in a cream-colored suit, probably pricier than my monthly income. The smile on her lips now, I could see it was perfectly fake. I started slowly. I've been thinking a lot about the future, about the house, about how I'll live. I saw Melissa's eyes flash, her interest barely contained. It's truly hard for me, I sighed, but maybe you're not wrong. At my age, managing a big house is really tiring. Melissa leaned forward, excited. I'm glad you're considering it. Jordan and I only want what's best for you. Once you decide, we'll stand by you and take care of everything. So, what about the house? Am I supposed to leave it sitting empty? I asked, playing dumb. Melissa seized the moment. Don't worry. Jordan and I will handle everything. The house will stay in the family, not abandoned or in strangers' hands. That answer was a confession. She never mentioned selling the house to pay for my care. She simply assumed they would live in it. That's reassuring, I lied, then pivoted. But what about the finances? Keeping two places at once? Melissa smiled. Actually, we plan to move into your house and sell ours. Your house is bigger, better located, and honestly, we like it more. Her brazenness took my breath for a second, but I held steady. Practically speaking, that's reasonable, I said, while calculating the speed of my counterstrike. Melissa went on, unable to hide her excitement. My parents are thinking of moving in too, and my siblings can help with cleaning in the yard. Splitting costs will make it lighter for everyone. Final confirmation of the call I'd once overheard. Her whole family was about to pour in. Your whole family would move in? I asked, feigning innocent curiosity. The house is very big, as you always say. Using all the space keeps it from being wasted. Melissa replied, sitting up straight. The way she spoke about my house, as if it were hers, made my stomach twist. She kept going. Jordan Jr. would love having his own playroom. Your old room could become a game room, and Nathan's old room could be Jordan's office. They had divided up every room already, one by one my house. The conversation stretched another half hour. The longer it went, the more Melissa revealed. Upgrading the kitchen, redoing the bathrooms, even expanding the backyard to fit the family. I nodded, swallowing every detail into my memory to use later. Before getting up, she spoke as if to seal the deal. Let's visit a few facilities this weekend, okay? Just to see what's available. I smiled. The more information I have, the easier it'll be to decide. Melissa gave me a hug, the kind that made my skin crawl, and left. That night, I called Evelyn and told her everything. She choked up. She has no shame. And the boys, I can't believe they. I said what hurt most. Jordan is completely different. He wasn't like this before. Evelyn was quiet for a moment, then reminded me, what matters now is holding on to what's yours. The next day, I did something that scared me, but had to be done. I called 3 facilities Melissa might have had in mind and asked about costs, services, and availability. The results chilled me. The nice places she mentioned ran from about $3,000 to $5,000 per month. With my current savings, I could cover a decent place for at most 2 years. After that, I'd have to drop to something cheaper and lower quality. The clincher came when I spoke with the director of an upscale place. Many families bring their parents here after they've already taken their house. The elder has to pay for the stay with the money from selling the house, while the family pockets the difference. Those words stamped my darkest suspicion. They wanted to take the house, then make me pay for my own exile. That afternoon, Nathan called. "How do you feel?" "Mom, Jordan says you're seriously considering moving somewhere more convenient." His voice trembled, like he was reading from a prompt. I softened my tone. "I've thought about it a lot. There are a few points you two are right about." He rushed in. "We'll help you move. We won't let you feel lonely." "You're still good sons," I lied, the words turning to ash in my mouth. I asked directly, "If I move, what about my belongings?" "A lifetime of saving and collecting." Nathan hesitated. "You'd take what matters most. But there isn't much space in a facility. Jordan and I could hold on to a few pieces of furniture so they don't get lost outside the family." That was enough of the picture. Not just the house, but also my belongings. Every item I'd scrimped to buy were part of their collection plan. "I understand," I replied, my voice still even. while in my heart I locked away each piece of evidence so when the moment came, one reveal would be enough. The rest of my plan was already set. Keep the mask of the kind mother who seems to be wavering to buy time. Finish the paperwork with attorney Austin Miller, including the option of a quick sale through a trust if needed. Lock down security with the bank. No one but me touches the accounts or assets. Take detailed notes, save all texts, emails. If recording, it must be with their consent first, according to state law, every proposal and arrangement fully documented. They thought they were steering the game, but from now on, every one of their moves would be in my notebook, and when I gave the signal that it's time, the door would shut fast, clean, irreversible. This is my house, and I, Sherry, am still standing here. It's very considerate of you to want to keep everything in the family, I said to smooth things over. That's right, Mom, Nathan said eagerly. Don't worry about the legal or financial parts. Jordan knows a lawyer who can handle the property transfer quickly and neatly. Their casual mention of a lawyer to transfer the house was the last straw. They had lined up someone to help legally, strip me of my assets. I sat quietly in the living room, looking around. Every item had a story. The sofa where I held and soothed my kids when they were sick. The dining table where we gathered for years. The curtains I sewed myself to save money. They wanted to divide it all like war loot. That night, I made a firm decision. I would not let them get what they wanted. It was time to move from investigation to action. I called attorney Austin Miller to book an urgent appointment. I want to sell the house as fast as possible, and it needs to be a complete surprise to the family. He nodded. Do you already have a potential buyer? No, but I'm willing to sell slightly below market if it means fast and discreet. All right, I know a few cash investors. We could have offers in less than a week. I called Evelyn. I want to sell the house quietly and find a small place to live afterwards. Evelyn didn't hesitate. Leave it to me. There's a one-bedroom in my building opening up soon, bright, quiet neighborhood perfect for you. For the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. I had a plan, allies, and the will to see it through. Friday morning, Jordan called to confirm the plan to tour facilities over the weekend. Wonderful, sweetheart, I answered, cheerfully pretending. Meanwhile, I already had a Monday meeting set with an investor, and attorney Austin was preparing the quick sale documents. The irony was delicious. They thought they were convincing me to serve up my life on a silver platter while I was orchestrating my own liberation. Saturday morning, Jordan arrived on time with Melissa and Jordan Jr. Melissa wore a coral dress, her radiant smile betraying her belief she was about to win. Hi, Mom. She hugged me a hug that made my skin crawl. You're going to love the places we picked. Jordan Jr. hugged me. Grandma, Dad says you're going to a place with lots of grandparents to play with. My grandson's innocence made my heart tighten. On the way, Melissa chattered on. Plenty of activities, no more burden of home maintenance, peers your age. Every word cherry-picked to turn exile into a blessing. Jordan just nodded like a puppet. The first facility was truly beautiful. Well-kept gardens, modern amenities, friendly staff. But when we got to the cost, the manager smiled brightly. The full package, private room, 3 meals, activities, basic medical care, $4,200 per month. Melissa and Jordan exchanged satisfied looks. Clearly they had shopped the prices. That's expensive, I said, pretending to hesitate. Don't worry, Mom, Jordan cut in. We'll help with the cost. A lie. With my savings, I could afford it for not even 2 years. Then it would be either a cheaper, worse place or relying on assistance. We saw 2 more places, one even more expensive, and one significantly cheaper but depressing small. Rooms, overwhelmed staff, a heavy atmosphere. Melissa suggested lightly. This option might be more practical long term. Clearly they wanted me to choose the cheapest so my money would last longer, sparing them from having to help. After lunch, Melissa practically interviewed me. "Which one do you think fits you best, Mom?" "They all have their advantages," I hedged. Jordan chimed in. "The sooner you decide, the sooner you can start enjoying your new life." Jordan Jr. asked honestly, "Grandma, you're not going to live in your house anymore?" Before I could answer, Melissa jumped in. "Grandma's going to a more comfortable place, and we'll keep the house from getting damaged." That afternoon, back at my house, Melissa strolled the yard and flicked her hand. "You know, when we take over, we could put a small pool out back. Jordan Jr. would love it." The way she said, "take over," as if it were already decided, made me even more certain I was on the right path. That night, I called Attorney Austin. "How are the sale papers coming along?" "Good news, Miss Sherry," he said. "I have 3 offers. One cash offer for $240,000, closing in 5 business days. It's a bit below market, but fast, clean, and hassle-free." "I accept," I answered immediately. "Proceed with all the paperwork." Sunday morning, I sat with my coffee in the garden, maybe one of the last mornings there, when an unexpected call came. Helen, Melissa's mother. "Hi, Sherry." Her voice was friendly. "Melissa told me you're moving to a place that suits seniors. A very wise decision." I stayed in character. "Yes, it's hard, but maybe it's best for everyone." Helen continued. "My family is very grateful to help Jordan and Melissa take care of the house. Don't worry, we'll keep it in perfect condition." "That's very reassuring," I lied. She added, "We're all ready, planning how to allocate the spaces so everyone is comfortable." Brazen beyond belief, they were dividing up my house before I'd even made an official decision. Monday morning, I arrived at Attorney Austin's office early. All the documents were in perfect order. Caleb Morgan, the investor, had already transferred the funds into the escrow account. "Miss Sherry," the lawyer said, "once you sign, the deal is official and irreversible." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. I signed every page, decisive. Now, please help me find a small, comfortable apartment, preferably close to Evelyn." He smiled. "I've already reached out. There's a 1-bedroom in a secure building, 10 minutes from Evelyn." That afternoon, I went to see it with Evelyn. The apartment was exactly right. A spacious bedroom, a living room open to the kitchen, a tidy kitchen, a small balcony overlooking a park. Most importantly, the rent was about $1,200 per month, completely manageable with my income. "I'll take it," I told the building manager. Tuesday morning, as I was discreetly packing a few valuables, Jordan called. "Have you thought more about the facilities from the weekend? Melissa and I want to know which one you liked best." I looked around the house, every corner a piece of my life, and felt calm. They still thought the game was in their hands. But every piece had already moved. The house had changed hands. The new place was ready. The paperwork was locked. I smiled, keeping up my performance because the final blow needed to land at the right moment. "Yes, I'm considering it, honey," I answered gently. "The more I look into it, the more I know what I should do. And this time, I'm the one who decides. This used to be my house, built on sleepless nights and the laughter of my children when they were little. No one, not even my own children, has the right to call it a prize to be divided. I am Sherry and I stand firm. Yes, sweetheart, I told Jordan over the phone. I've thought about it a lot. I'm ready to talk more. Jordan lit up. How about we stop by this afternoon and go over everything? Melissa even found a place that gives a discount if you pay for the whole year up front. Of course, they wanted me to pay in full so I'd have no way out. Sounds good, I said. Come by around 5 p.m. We'll have a lot to discuss. I smiled for the first time in weeks. We would indeed discuss a lot, but not the way they expected. That afternoon, I made coffee and set out a plate of cookies like I always did when the kids visited. The difference was that today would be the last time I played the gullible mother. Soon enough, they'd see they had misread their opponent. Jordan and Melissa arrived on time. Melissa carried a thick folder clearly ready to close the deal. Jordan looked tense but determined. After a few pleasantries, Jordan got to the point. Melissa and I have found the best option for you, so you can make the right decision. Melissa deftly opened the folder. After researching, I found a place called Maple Grove Residence, exactly what you need. They also have a strong discount if you pay for a year. Instead of $4,000 per month, it's only $3,500, saving $6,000 a year. Jordan chimed in. We'll even help with the initial payment. Think of it as investing in your future and peace of mind. The sanctimony made me sick. They wanted me to burn through my savings to pay for my own exile, while they took over a house worth nearly $250,000. That's very generous of you. I kept up the act. But I have a few practical questions. If I move to Maple Grove Residence, what happens to the house? Jordan glanced at Melissa. She answered immediately. Jordan and I will take care of it. You won't have concert to worry. Good. But what about the costs, taxes, repairs, services? Who pays, and whose name is on the paperwork? Jordan cleared his throat. The most practical way is to transfer the title temporarily to us. That way we can handle the legal and financial matters cleanly, and you won't have to sign a lot. There it was. The keyword, transfer, finally surfaced. What exactly do you mean by temporarily? I asked, pretending not to understand. Melissa leaned in with her most persuasive smile. You'll still be the real owner, but legally, it'll be under our names for convenience. It's just paperwork. Lies. Once I signed over the title, there would be no way back. I would lose my house, lose my assets, and have to live off their so-called kindness. Jordan was eager. Our lawyer friend can do it really fast, even as soon as tomorrow. Very efficient, I nodded. And what if I want to come back later if Maple Grove Residence doesn't suit me? Both of them froze. Jordan stammered, that would be complicated. We'll figure it out then. Why would it be complicated if it's still my house? I pressed. Melissa jumped in. What Jordan means is once you're settled at Maple Grove Residence, you'll see it's better than living alone in a big house. The phone rang the call I'd been waiting for. I excused myself to answer. Attorney Austin Miller's voice came through clearly on speaker. Miss Sherry, I'm calling to confirm. The sale of your house was completed this morning. The money is already in your account. The keys are to be handed over to Mr. Caleb Morgan at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I returned to the living room. Jordan looked up. Everything okay, Mom? Perfectly okay, I said calmly. Better than ever. I sat down and looked them straight in the eyes. I've made a decision about my future, but not the one you expect. I am leaving this house, Not for a nursing home. I sold the house. The room went silent. Jordan stared at me as if he didn't understand the language. What did you say, Mom? I said I sold it. The deal closed this morning. Tomorrow I hand over the keys. Melissa jumped up. Impossible. We had an agreement. What agreement? I said coldly. I never signed anything with you. I never promised to hand over the house. Jordan was speechless. I stood, the anger I'd held back for so long finally breaking free. You call that helping while plotting to dump me in senior housing so you can take the house? Helping by forcing me to transfer the title, calculating every last cent of benefit? Melissa went pale. I cut her off. I heard your phone call, Melissa. You told your mother the old lady has to hand over the house, that you'd move your whole family in, and if I didn't cooperate, you'd throw me into a nursing home. Not to mention you'd already assigned the rooms. My old room as a playroom, Nathan's old room as Jordan's office. You even priced out my house down to the last penny. Even if I said that, it was out of frustration. Melissa tried to salvage it. We only wanted to help. Enough, I shouted, surprising even myself with the force in my voice. Your intention was theft, and you dragged my son into being your accomplice. Jordan's voice shook. Mom, where will you live? What will you do without the house? Where I choose, I answered. A lovely apartment I rented with the money from the sale. I will enjoy the fruits of my labor, and I will live in peace without unfilial children plotting against me. Melissa stormed toward the door. This isn't over. You can't make such big decisions without consulting the family. I gave a cold laugh. Family? Family doesn't scheme, doesn't lie, doesn't betray. Jordan stood, eyes red. Mom, I didn't know you knew everything. What you? I didn't know, Jordan, is that I am not helpless. Raising 2 children alone, building a house with my own hands, living for 67 years, I've learned to be stronger than you think. They had nothing left to say. Melissa turned back with a parting threat. You'll regret this. Without us, you'll end up alone. I've been on my own for a long time, I said evenly. But now it's by choice. Jordan turned back one last time. You're still my mother. If you need, you'll always be my son, I cut in, gently but firmly. But respect is something you earn, not inherit. When you decide to be the man I raised, not your wife's puppet, you'll know where to find me. They left. I watched from the window, feeling a mix of sadness and relief. The next morning, I handed the keys to Mr. Caleb Morgan, a kind widower who planned to make the house a home for his grandkids whenever they gathered. I can see how much love you put into this house, he said. I promise to care for it the same way. Evelyn drove over in a borrowed pickup to help me move. How does it feel? She asked. Free, I answered immediately. For the first time in months, completely free. The new apartment was even better than I expected. A balcony overlooking a park, full of light, peaceful. Without the burden of a big house, I had more time for my alterations shop. My regulars followed, and new neighbors became customers. The $240,000 from the sale was invested conservatively, creating an extra income stream that, combined with the shop, left me comfortable. A month later, Nathan called, voice full of regret, asking to meet and apologize. At the cafe I often visited with Evelyn, he admitted Melissa had influenced him, that he thought I was too old to live alone. And you never asked what I wanted, I replied. He lowered his head. I was wrong. I don't expect immediate forgiveness. I just want to become better. I asked about Jordan and Melissa. Nathan sighed. Jordan is devastated. He realized Melissa has been controlling him for years, not just about the house. And Helen's family? Nathan gave a bitter smile. Once they heard there was no house to benefit from, they disappeared. Months passed, and I found a rhythm that satisfied me. Working in the morning, reading in the park, or visiting Evelyn in the afternoon, enjoying the quiet at night. I joined the library's book club. I met many women my age with stories of rising up and standing on their own. One afternoon, I ran into Jordan Jr. With a nanny. Clearly his parents were no longer dropping him off on me like the old plan. "Grandma!" He ran to me. I hugged him, reminding myself that the mistakes of adults are not a child's burden. "Why aren't you living in the big house anymore?" he asked. "Because I chose new adventures," I answered. "Do you like your new home?" "I love it. It fits me just right." That night, I understood. Even if things were broken with my sons, I would keep the bond with my grandson, but not at the cost of my peace and dignity. Half a year later, Jordan called again. His voice was steadier. "Mom, Melissa and I are getting a divorce." I wasn't surprised, and I simply asked how he felt. "Relieved," he admitted. "I've been living her life, not mine. Losing you was too high a price to wake me up." Softly, I said, "I hope you learned something." He answered, "I learned that respect and love can't be faked. A mother like you deserves to be honored, not betrayed." I was moved, but I stayed cautious. Deep wounds need time. Now I sit on my small balcony with a cup of coffee, watching children play in the park and elderly couples walk hand in hand, feeling at peace. I lost a house, but I kept my dignity. I said goodbye to the illusion of a perfect family, but held on to my self-respect. At 68, I understand. It's never too late to say no, to protect yourself, to choose the life you want. Work is going well, my savings are growing, and my friendships are strong. Nathan stops by little, trying to mend our relationship. And me, I'm still Sherry, steady, calm, and free. Looking back, Sherry's greatest pain was not losing the house, but realizing who was truly on her side. And the lesson here is very simple. Peace is worth more than any possession. Saying no at the right time is also a form of love, loving yourself and loving your family in a more mature way. Share your perspective in the comments so we can learn together and draw lessons for our own families. If this story resonates with you, please follow the channel so you won't miss the next journeys where we continue to tell, listen, and grow together.